Please let me. I keep seeing the slides screen. Right.
Can't you? I shared mine.
Steph, click webinar tab and then the first thumbnail.
Okay. So, okay,
Do
I
you
guess
have
I'm in the
it?
right screen now. So, hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of our Good Morning SolarWorks webinar series, The AI You Are Missing. My name is Stephanie from the Slope System, and I will be your host today.
Yay.
Next slide. So for those who has joined our last webinar 2 weeks ago, you may already be familiar with Alex. We are very happy to have him back with us again today.
Yes, and I'm
Alex,
back. Hello.
yeah, welcome back and thank you for joining us today. So for those who may be joining us for the first time, let me briefly introduce Alex again. Alex is our senior industry process consultant. He has over 30 years of experience in delivering SOLIDWORKS solutions and helping our customer improve their design and engineering workflows across different industries. He is also a certified SOLIDWORKS expert, and he is passionate about helping users discover practical ways to work faster and smarter with SOLIDWORKS.
That's, as usual, very warm welcome from you, Stephanie. Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for your time today. It's good to see everyone online. And get a big shout out to those of you whom I know personally. I guess we should go down to the show itself, shall we, Stephanie?
Yeah, so Alex, today you'll be sharing with us more intelligent capabilities that are introduced in SOLIDWORKS in the past few years, right?
Yes, that's correct. We're basically going to be following up from the episode 1 we had 2 weeks ago, which talked about what we have always had over the past 20, 30 years in SolidWorks and also what we have right now. So that's why I guess we are saying we're talking about the AI that you're missing. All right.
Okay.
But before we go on, I think we need to remember to mention this is the QR code, right? About
Yeah.
surveys and all that.
Right. So before we begin, you can see that there is a QR code on the screen, and we have also posted a link in the chat box if you prefer to use a link, right? So we really appreciate if you can scan it during the webinar and share your feedback with us. Your input will help us understand what topics you would like to see next, and we can make the future sessions more relevant to you.
That is correct. And also, I should highlight this QR code will be available throughout the presentation. So you don't have to worry about rushing to get your phone right now to scan everything. It will keep appearing on the screen, on subsequent screens and all that. But just do look out for the QR code anyway. Anyway, I guess with that, let's just jump straight into it today. Just to look to recap on what we did in the previous session, we talked about the AI assisted solutions that are available within SolidWorks. Typically, loosely, they can be categorized into two areas. One of them are the embedded, or what you call built-in solutions, and they are the virtual companions. All right. And we, of course, talked mostly about the embedded solutions that have already existed in SolidWorks since all the way back to 1999 when I first started using SolidWorks, kind of. And a quick snapshot of some of the capabilities that we have today as in the latest AI assisted technologies that are built into SolidWorks itself, or what we call embedded solutions. This is just a snapshot of some of them, and we will be looking at them today. All right. But before we do that, for the benefit of those who didn't manage to catch episode 1, let's, in a typical Netflix series, try a previously on episode 1. Here's a quick recap of episode 1. All right. Some key points that we highlighted is that if we look back at the capabilities that have been available with SolidWorks since the early days, you'd find that there have been many AI-assisted capabilities that were available already with SolidWorks. Okay, it's not exactly something new. And episode 1 kind of stopped around the time of 2020, 2018, because that was kind of like what we would call the historical side of SolidWorks, the AI tools that we have had so far. All right, today we are going to look at what's more available right now. especially the two most recent versions, 25 and 26, and that's what we will be focusing on. All right. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that you see the QR code appearing on and off. Look out for it. So again, no need to rush for your phone. The QR code will be appearing on and off. All right. So shall we get on the show, Stephanie?
Yes, let's continue the journey.
Yes, and this is where we left off. Like I said, we're just going to be looking mostly at the latest releases, the two latest releases, which are 2025 and 26, specifically on the AI-assisted capabilities. The question is, why look at these two? Well, there are several reasons, but one of my favorite reasons is because the traditional expectation of SOLIDWORKS is that we get enhancements at major releases. 25, there's one major release. 26, boom, another major release. And that's where the enhancements are. In between the FDs or service packs, depending on what you call it, they are just bug fixes. They are just minor upgrades and all that. Well, one of the things I wanted to emphasize here is that that's not the case. And that is also the reason why, if you look carefully at the images on my timeline, they are slightly offset. Okay, they indicate that not everything came on the dot at the beginning of 25 and 26. They were kind of like introduced in between as well. So enhancements not only come out during the major releases, you get minor releases. For example, even during the preparation of this presentation, from the time we started preparing this months ago to now, we've had some additional AI capabilities that were introduced on 2026 FD02, which was, I think, about 2 months ago. And yeah, this was in FD02, which was really cool, I think, because again, it highlights that development on tools, whether it's AI assisted or otherwise, continue throughout the SOLIDWORKS environment, whether or not it's a major release. And yes, we are on the cusp of a new one, which is 2027 coming out soon. But even from 26, when it was first released to now, new developments still continue to get introduced. All right?
Yeah, right. Actually, I can see a lot of intelligent features were introduced, especially in the year of 2025.
Oh, definitely.
And there
Was a
is
big year
one
for us.
feature catching my attention.
Oh,
It's the
really? Which one?
command predictor.
Ah, that. Okay.
Yeah,
That one's
cause
a. Mhm.
yeah, cause I think as a SolidWorks user, we all like the software a lot, but because it has so many powerful capabilities, but
Mhm.
sometimes there are so many commands and I may not remember exactly where a function is located or what the exact command name is. So I think this command predictor is probably a function for user like me. So I'm not sure if
Um,
my understanding is correct, but maybe you can share with us more about that.
yes, actually, I think you're right. It's very much for you and me, and for most of us, actually. If for those of us who need to remember what the what commands are available for us in the context of our action. And this was introduced actually too much excitement to many users like myself. Actually, it basically enhances the workflow efficiency by analyzing the design process. It looks at what you're doing and it tries to predict what the next best tool is. But rather than to talk about it, shall we just take a look at an example using this little link component here? Okay, now there's a little tab on the top that says command predictor. For users of 25 and 26, if you can't find this tab, you just do a right mouse click and show the tab called command predictor. That's all you need to do. All right, by default it's hidden if you're using a default settings, but effectively it's just a new tab. All right. So typically what it does is exactly what it says. It's a command predictor based on what we are doing. For example, right now we have a typical example of a user just creating a feature. And of course, to start off a feature, you need a sketch. So it's given a list of possible sketch entities to use. You go on to create a sketch here. And when you move on, if you notice, the tab updates its icons according to what the potential next steps are. For example, like this case, a sketch has been created, closed loop, center line, dimension. So the next possibility is extrude a cut or extrude a boss. For this case here, the user has chosen extrude cut or cut extrude. You do a through all, and take note that the icons at the command predictor level also changes. And one of them, it thinks there's a possibility of you wanting to do a linear pattern. And from the linear pattern, it again tries to predict that, look, you've already patterned those features. What else could you potentially want to do? Well, maybe one of the things you wanted to do would be to add a fillet or a chamfer. And that's what the command predictor does. It looks at the potential next command option for you.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, that's what it does effectively.
Right. So I can really see the features in the tab keep changing based on your actions, and I think I really like this because I do not have to switch between different tabs to look for the right commands. And by having all the relevant features all in one place, I think it is definitely helping our users to save a lot of time and to work more efficiently.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the whole point, isn't it? To minimize command searches that you mentioned just now, or having to remember or try to guess where the other command is and all that. And it's really, really helpful. Something that's been around since actually 2025 GA, or for the old school people like me, Service Pack 0. So it's
Hmm,
been around for nearly 2 years now.
yeah.
If you haven't tried it, now would be a good time to give it a shot, isn't it?
I can't wait
All
to
right.
try it, but before that, I would like to see more AI capabilities.
Of course, that's what we are here to talk about today. Let's see, what shall we talk about? Any preference?
Let me take a look. I think there are so many AI assist feature introduced last year, and in our last episode, we talked about the smart fasteners, right?
Yes, we
And I
did.
think many engineers may have a bit of love-hate relationship with the fasteners because we
Why?
see them almost every day in the design work, but
Hmm.
placing them correctly can really take them a lot of time, especially when we are dealing with many repeated holes.
Okay.
And especially when a company is using external toolboxes or some customized hardware that may not, and those hardware or toolboxes, they may not fully work with the smart fasteners. So, is there some AI assist capabilities that can help with this group of users?
Actually, there is. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned smart fasteners because that's what we talked about, and it is one of my favorite legacy features of SolidWorks. But you know what? You are absolutely correct. It's time to move on to better things. And with that, we look at this little thing called auto fastener recognition. All right. It basically enhances the efficiency of the designer by automatically identifying and mating fasteners into an assembly. But the fun part is, yes, you are correct, Stephanie. Toolbox, double-edged sword. Some people love it, some people maybe not so much. But you may not necessarily have access to everything in Toolbox. Like for example, this case here, we've got a generic washer. Okay, and as you can see on the right here, it's just a boss extrude. It's not a Toolbox component at all. This was a component that was probably designed by the designer who needed to use it. All right. If you recall again in the previous episode when we talk about smart fasteners, it makes use of toolbox. And for this case, this is just a generic component, and I can go on to treat it like any other fastener. The AI assistance will automatically identify this as a fastener, and it will decide how it should be placed in relation to the tool, like what we have. We have seen here, when you drag and drop it next to a hole, it automatically creates the mating conditions. There's no need to predefine any mating conditions or rules at all.
Wow,
All
it
right.
snapped into the position very smoothly. I like it. But
Yeah.
Alex, let me challenge you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I can
Demanding,
see
eh?
that the washer is built in SolidWorks, so maybe
Yeah.
this is the reason why it looks so smart. But
Mhm.
in real project, we often receive or download the fasteners from some website or from our supplier. They are usually in the format of step or IGES file. So for this type of imported file types,
Mhm.
would SolidWorks still be able to recognize it and help snap it into the hole?
Well, the short answer is yes, but how about we take a look at an example? For example, all right, here we have a bunch of downloads, typical case, and even I do download standard parts sometimes that are not available in Toolbox for use. Like this case here, we've got a hex head screw that's a step file. All right, not magic, just a step file. You can go on to open it and all. And what happens is that at this point in time, as you can see, this is an imported body. All right, and we can fully featured. We can talk about it later. But even then, as a user, you can just drag and drop it in, and the system will recognize that, yep, this is still a fastener, and because of that, it should be attached in this manner. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. So can I conclude that if our user is using SOLIDWORKS Toolbox, they can use Smart Fastener to help place the fasteners into the correct holes. And if they are not using the SOLIDWORKS Toolbox, we also have these AI capabilities to help them to position the fastener more quickly, right?
Absolutely. And you can use both. Okay, that no one says that, you can if you're using toolbox, you can use this, or you can use this, you can't use toolbox. You can use both. Use it,
Yeah. And
choose which
there
one
is
you need.
always a smart tool available in SOLIDWORKS for you.
Exactly. So choose the smart tool that's useful for you. And to add to that, you can also apply the same logic to components that already exist within the assembly. That means you might have added other components, like this case here, that have already been placed to the assembly. You can continue to just use it to replicate the use of the same set of fasteners to other locations. All right.
Hmm.
All thanks to AI assistance.
Yeah,
All right. Cool, isn't this?
cool.
All right. And there goes the lighting. This is not going to happen in the real thing. I hate this room. Okay, that wasn't part of the rehearsal. All right, so that's auto fastener recognition. Yeah, available since 25 FD03. I also should highlight that it has gotten much more refined since 2025. So for those who haven't tried it out, you should give it a shot. Let us know what you think. All right.
Hmm.
Would you like to? Shall we cover more?
Yes, and I
All right.
think let's continue the fastener topic, shall we?
Oh,
Because I see there is another capability that is related to the fastener. So fastener
oh, cool.
simplification.
Oh,
That sounds interesting.
the one that was introduced in 26. This was introduced only a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But my question
November.
to you is, why do we need to simplify the fasteners in the first place?
Excellent question. I get asked that question all the time, actually. Let's take a look at it. And then we can get a better view on. We'll just use this example of a gearbox housing here and take a look at what things look like. All right. In this gearbox assembly here, look, typically we can go on to insert a fastener. Now here's one that the designer created. Really nice components, lots of detail, which is a great demonstration of the user's ability to create detail and all. However, from a performance standpoint, as we know, threads are complex geometry, which means they create additional and potentially unnecessary performance overheads, especially when added to an assembly. All right. So very common we can get things like this because we might have downloaded this part from the internet, and the person who created it, actually created the part this way. Now, with the introduction of fastener simplification, what that does is that when you do something like this, the performance assistant, which is the built-in tool within SOLIDWORKS, okay, which is of course backed up by AI capability, will let you know that, hey, you know what? As you can see here, it tells you that, hold on, you've got a complex part here with complex geometry. Are you sure you want to work with this? Do you want to simplify this? All right. So what the system does is that it starts off by recognizing, with the help of AI, that this is a part with some complex geometry. For this case here, a threaded feature. All right. And when the user says, yeah, let's see what we can do about it, it will tell, look, what can you do? It can basically open up the part and it will, as it says here, go on to simplify it accordingly. All right. And all of this is without any human intervention. It basically prompts the user or what to do. And from there, what happens is that when you hit OK, the part gets simplified. And if you were to
Oh.
open the part, you'll see that the part gets simplified like this, and the complex features have now been added to a nice little folder in a suppressed state. Okay,
Mm.
so that's fastener simplification for you. It simplifies the complex geometry and it allows you to continue using it as per normal.
Right. So
All
I
right,
think this would be particularly useful when we are working with a really large assembly, right? Because this detailed trace geometry contains a lot of graphic triangles and it can really degrade the performance of your large assembly. And
absolutely.
as most of the time we are not the fastener manufacturers, and in many cases those fasteners are purchased parts. So we actually do not need so many detailed geometry in our design. And what matter most is what matters most is to represent the fastener correctly in our design and keep our assembly lightweight and efficient.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. And again, for those who among us who might be saying, I've never seen this feature before, not surprised. This, like I mentioned, was introduced in 2026 FD02. That means about slightly less than 2 months ago, which is very recent. This was okay. So this new functionality that's available, and it again leverages AI capabilities. All right. And yeah, that brings us back to our timelines. I think we have time for one more if you like.
Yes, one more, please.
One more. All right.
Yeah.
What would you like for today to close off?
Well, the generative rendering looks quite interesting to me, and I know you are a fan of SOLIDWORKS Visualize, and you're our
Yes.
rendering expert. So, can you tell me more about this generative rendering?
Sure. Look, I'm not sure about the expert part, but I definitely am a big fan. Those of us who know me, who have ever known me would know that I am a big fan and very, very vocal supporter of SolidWorks Visualize. Big fan of that. And yes, generative rendering is something that gets me really excited. This is really something that gets me very excited, especially when it was first announced. Now, first, before I go into it, I need to highlight generative rendering isn't one feature. It's not like you can't go to look for an icon and say, can I turn it on or can I activate generative rendering? It doesn't work that way. It is actually an underlying collection of refinements and technology inside the software that basically results in a more efficient process of creating rendered images. All right. So in short, it is not a how, but it's more a question of what does it do. And what it does is it creates the final outcome where the user is able to create better images faster. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, traditionally, okay, one challenge that we face with rendering, especially for high resolution, hyper realistic photo rendered images, is that the need to adjust your renderings and that your viewpoints, your settings, render, and then repeat the whole process again and again until you get the result you're happy with. All right, this has always been a challenge, regardless of the sort of render tool you had, because we always had limitations on technology. All right. However, with the AI enhanced fast mode that was introduced in 2025, which leverages what I can call as modern graphics architecture and much AI assisted capabilities, there's no longer such a bottleneck for visualized users. All right. What you effectively are able to do is actually have your real-time rendering mode being visualized in real time, and you can choose to change your angles, your viewpoints in real time itself with minimal lag, even on a basic cat-friendly workstation. All right. And the expectation now is you get very normal renders under very simple circumstances. You couldn't do this in previous versions at all.
Right. I know that rendering can be quite time consuming, especially when we are adjusting the view or rotate the model to get a better rendering image. And by the time we rotate the model, the image will become pixelated, and we will usually need to wait for quite a while to get a clearer view before getting into the real renders. So now with this generative rendering function, it almost feels like we are getting a instant response, and it makes the rendering workflow even much smoother.
Yes.
Alex, can you compare how much time you are able to save with this feature?
Oh, absolutely. And you don't even have to ask me about it. I've asked many users who have already tried this, and they've given me feedback that they get the final render from the time they hit render to the time they actually get a final visualize of image could be 60 to 80% faster than what they previously had to do on older versions.
Wow, 60 to 80%, that's a huge time saver.
It is. And I always say, don't take my word for it. Give it a try for anyone who's a visualized user. And especially if you're not using 2025 or newer, try a particular complex image. And the more complicated your setup is, the more obvious the benefits would be. If you have a simple one part, one lighting, no ray trace or no complex lighting conditions, you won't tell the difference. Get a complex setup with a large assembly, with indirect lighting and so on. and give it a try on an older version, then try 25 or better 26 and see how the fast mode visualization helps you. And let me know whether 60 to 80% makes sense.
Yes, I will
All
let
right.
you know also.
You should. It's definitely something worth a try because it's actually quite interesting to see how much it has changed. All right. And yeah, like I said, that's all thanks to generative rendering. It's not one specific feature. It's a combination of many different technologies in the underlying piece of software that was introduced in SOLIDWORKS 2025. Yes, 2025 GA. So it was launched during the major release of 25 and it continues to be refined today.
Mm.
All right. So I think that's about all the time we have for today, isn't it? Let's just go back to the timeline and maybe, yeah, look back at what else we have to talk about.
Alex, I think
Yeah.
today we are mainly focusing on the intelligent and AI assist capabilities that are embedded in the
Yep.
SOLIDWORKS. I would like to ask a question on behalf of our audience.
Mhm.
Like,
That's
how
all right.
about the virtual companions, Aura, Leo, right? I know we
Cool.
are not going into a full demo of the virtual companions today,
Mhm.
but could you briefly share whether they are already available in SOLIDWORKS and how do we get access to them?
Ooh, those are big questions. Yeah, you're right. We won't have time to do a full-blown demo, but we could touch on the major questions and answers and all that. Are they available? Well, that's a good question because actually that addresses the question of where we really are at today. And you are right. The AI discussion with SOLIDWORKS will not be complete if we didn't touch on the virtual companions. So let's start with Aura. I mean, anyone whoever attended a What's New or launch event in 2025 would have heard Aura being mentioned back in 2025. That's the first of the virtual companions we have that was introduced in early 2025. Then two more were added to the list, Leo and Marie, in early 2026. And since the 23rd of July this year, these three virtual companions have been commercially available and active on the 3D Experience platform. And essentially, to sum up again, we are not going to go into a full demo here, but in summary, these are the three virtual assistants that are currently available on the 3D Experience platform. Now, specifically for SOLIDWORKS users, we would actually focus on two, which is Aura and Leo. If someone's going to ask me why not Marie, well, Marie currently does not leverage on the capabilities of SOLIDWORKS, so it's not exactly applicable to us SOLIDWORKS users. However, if that is an area of interest for you, do reach out to us and we are happy to have a separate discussion on this. All right. And in relation to talking about the virtual assistants, I guess there are several things that I will need to highlight. Of course, one, like I've mentioned, Aura and Leo are the two primary virtual assistants that we have access to. But a few other things also. Are we who have access to? Well, anyone with a current license of SOLIDWORKS Design, whether standard, professional, premium, doesn't matter, or SOLIDWORKS Design with cloud services or SOLIDWORKS X Design, all right, will have access to this virtual assistants. That's the first thing I need to highlight. All right, so you don't need to have a separate license whatsoever. If you have the SOLIDWORKS Design or SOLIDWORKS Design with cloud services or SOLIDWORKS X Design, you would already have access to the virtual companions. Now, in order to access the capability, okay, the capabilities of the virtual companions are what they call consumption based, which means you will need tokens, and all name users will be provided 2,100 tokens that per name user that you can use to actually explore the capabilities of Aura and Leo. All right, and again, as I mentioned, it's per name user. So these tokens are going to be shared across a particular tenant. So if your company has 5 name users, you would basically have 5 times 2,100 tokens, and these tokens will be shared amongst across your tenants, and this will be monitored by your administrator. All right. Additional tokens, of course, can be topped up, and this is a topic that we can take offline with your partners and your resellers if you'd like to know more about. All right. So this is just a quick overview of what things are right now. Again, we might need to have a separate session to go more detail into this, but at this point in time, I think I'll leave this with everybody, and maybe I'll pass it back to Stephanie. You got something else to say on this?
Yes, of course. So thank you, Alex, for showing us some of the AI-assisted intelligence embedded in SolidWorks. So we would like to really encourage everyone to try at least one of the AI capabilities that we shared in today's episode, and you may be surprised by how much time these tools can help you to save, can help you save in your daily design workflow. So, and for those users who already have the cloud services, we also encourage you to try out the virtual companions and share your feedback with us. Your input will help us continue improving the virtual companion experience. And there are also many, many more AI-assisted capabilities that we did not cover today, including the virtual companion. So feel free to reach out to your local SolidWorks reseller to learn more and find out which are the capabilities that can best support to your day-to-day work. And
Awesome.
this brings us to the end of today's sharing. Alex,
Oh, we're done.
shall we
Okay,
move to the Q&A session?
sure. Why not? We're done. That was a quick one. So questions.
Yeah,
So
so
question
now
one,
all
question.
channels will now return to the English channel. Please submit your question through the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom interface. And if we were unable to answer all the questions due to time constraints, we'll also follow up and post the answers in the Zoom Hub. For those questions that are not submitted in English, we will address them after the webinar. So let's take a look of the questions today. From the first question is from Mr. KK. He is
Yes.
asking you test question 1. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Parvin is asking you the question, test question 1. Thank you.